Hello and good morning. Good Wednesday morning to you. How are you guys doing today? I'm just going to give it a couple minutes for others to join us. But as you come into the room, just let me know who you are. Just comment, let me touch bases and let me know uh, where you're connecting with us this morning from. If this is the first time joining me, my name is Stephen A. Hart. I am a podcaster of the celebrated Trailblazers.fm podcast. We have interviewed over 200 amazing Black leaders, entrepreneurs, and business professionals all over the world. I'm also a brand strategist, a marketer for the Sands Institute, proud dad, consider myself hashtag best dad ever. Proud husband to Kristen of 12, almost 13 years. And just have a passion for um, seeing other successful Black professionals thrive. And so, good morning to Monique. Good morning, Stacy. Good morning, Craig. Good morning, Annette. Thank you guys for hanging with me today. So I oftentimes now find myself coming into these conversations. I don't want to say unprepared, but I'm challenging myself in this environment of live to have dialogue and talk a bit more and just relate to the things that I'm consuming, that I'm drawn to, that I know. And so I'm sharing things that, a couple days ago, we talked about live streaming, and I shared with you all the amazing things that I've learned by doing these live streams each and every day, or 3 times a week at least, each week for the better part of this year so far. And I found myself, guys, this morning, I thought, well, what are we going to talk about today? I'm grateful because I have an amazing wife who takes these two crumb snatchers to school in the morning, and I get the easier task of walking the dog, which gives me some clarity in the morning. And so, I'm most grateful for the opportunity to get up and to have that time on a morning walk. And we're dog sitting this week, so I had exciting part of walking too. But today I wanted to talk about something that's been concerning me for the past 4 years. In September of 2017, the Institute for Policy Studies and Policy Now, Prosperity Now, I'm sorry. So the Institute for Policy Studies, as well as Prosperity Now, uh, did a study. And the report of that study was really startling. One of the key findings in that study, and the report, the study was titled "The Road to Zero Wealth." The Road to Zero Wealth. And if let me go ahead and share my screen here so you guys can see. And I'll put this web address on the banner so you guys can actually hop there and read this, because I think it's important that we are aware of what's happening in the Black community. And I think this is very important on LinkedIn as well. As a business community, we need to be aware of some of the other challenges. I think we're all caught up in diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is really important in the wake of the George Floyd murder last year, and just all that's even happening this week, right? Dante Wright and the Black lieutenant in the Army who was was this young man who was maced in his car for a minor traffic violation. Things like this are extremely concerning day to day. But there's a much longer term issue at hand. And as you see the slide here, or the screen that I'm sharing, the key finding that is so very troubling about this study by the Institute for Policy Studies. It says if the racial wealth divide is left unaddressed, median Black household wealth is on a path to hit zero by 2053. If that don't shake you, I don't know what will. Now, this thing points out that by 2043, the population of the country is going to be people of color, right? And so that's even another layer of what startles me, right? And while Black median wealth is on a path to hit zero by 2053, median Latino household wealth is projected to hit zero as well 20 years later. And median white household wealth would climb. There's a lot more that I could go into on this piece. Altogether, I think it's worth looking at. There's also Prosperity Now actually did a really great infographic on this. I'll go ahead and put that here as well. And this infographic kind of breaks down the racial income gap and the racial wealth gap. And there's some good metrics here that you can look at, over time. This shows you a timeline of 3 decades. White versus Black versus Hispanic versus other races, household. And as now, I've been looking at this for the past 4 years. In fact, right after this study came out in 2017, I was so charged by and just so concerned by the findings of this study that it fueled my starting a wealth series on trailblazers.fm. I had the pleasure of interviewing people like John Rogers Jr. of Ariel Investments. We spoke with Dr. George C. Frazier. We've spoken with Patrice Washington, Dr. Cosette White, and so many others, so many amazing professionals in different areas of the financial world. Dr. Dennis Kimbrough. And while there is a lot that we can do, and a lot that we should do, and a lot that we need to begin doing, I don't think enough is brought to the details of this to market. How many of you actually knew of this study? And a good majority of the people in this thread that I can at least see are folks of color. How many of you were aware of this study? Good morning, Dr. Jolly. I know Dr. Jolly knows this study really well. Dr. Jolly, I need you and I to do a LinkedIn Live. Dr. Jolly was also a part of this wealth series. And if you're not following Dr. Pamela Jolly, you need to do yourself a favor and get a copy of this book, The Narrow Road. Dr. Jolly and I shared an amazing conversation about legacy wealth on Trailblazers. And I appreciate you being here. But this morning, I don't want this to be, I didn't intend for us to talk for a great deal of time. I think my Monday and Wednesday lives are more so intended to be somewhat inspirational. My good brother Sean Dove always labels it the motivational mission fuel. And so I'm just giving you fuel. Some days it's going to be inspirational, and some days it's going to be thought provoking. And this is something that provokes me, right? This haunts me in many ways, right? Zero wealth for the Black median household by 2053. Now, what's even more alarming about this study was done probably prior to 2017, right? What has the pandemic done to this trajectory, right? I'm sure that it's not been for the better. And so we have work to do as people of color. I think it begins with an education, and God bless that Dr. Jolly would hop into this thread this morning, because she's one of the people that are out there doing the work day in and day out to educate and to inform and to lift up our people of color. But what are you doing? I'm going to challenge you this morning to go find the report. Again, the report is called The Road to Zero Wealth. Go read this report. And it's been fuel for me, right? I've had 3 seasons of us doing the work to beginning to do some work towards this, and I haven't done enough. And I'm always asking myself that question about, what can I do now? As for me and my home, we are actively working to make sure that we do some fundamental things. For the last 10 years, Kristen and I have changed our approach to money. I wasn't trained I wasn't brought up in a household that had that knowledge. I was brought up in a very loving home and a very entrepreneurially wired home, but my family didn't know about saving and investing, but my wife's family did. And so through education, we have done quite a bit to position ourselves through habits over many years, right? I entered my marriage. Some of you have heard my story on Trailblazers before, but back in 2005, started one of my first businesses. The first one I started was a franchise that quickly went belly up, and shortly thereafter, myself and a college friend of mine started a business. We were trading the markets, and we did very well. In fact, I had periods of, a good couple years where I was making boatloads of cash in my mid-20s, and but didn't have the education to know how to properly save that money and how to invest that money. Did not have that grounding, did not have that awareness. And so instead of putting that towards the debt that I have and paying off student loans and not carrying loans, I was burning through this cash, right? You put 50, 60 grand a month in a 26-year-old's hands, and we were just buying cars and flying all around the place, right? And when that all fell apart in the summer of 2008, and it's difficult for me to share this testimony at times, but I do as much as I can without breaking down, right? But 3 weeks after getting married in 2008, my 7-figure net worth became 6-figure debt. And I found myself 3 weeks into marriage in debt, going from telling the wife, this new bride, that I was going to buy her a brownstone, to asking her to pay the rent for what became the next year and a half until I got back on my feet. And that didn't feel good, to say the least. And I made a commitment to myself, and we made a commitment to each other at that point that we were never going to find ourselves in that place again. And together, we worked to get ourselves from out of that situation. And we changed our habits. We were forced to change our habits. And so we've always been, ones to approach money differently. We've bought cars and drove them till the wheels fell off. We have lived in this home now for almost 10 years. And we could easily move to another home, a bigger home, but there's really no value in that more than for show. We live in an amazing home that we've been able to raise 2 kids in. Now, mind you, we've committed to sending our kids to better schools, which is not inexpensive, but that's the commitment we've made. But we save. We are big advocates of, saving in a 401k, right? And so, we both have essentially taken an approach to start saving in 401ks and our employer-based saving programs. And as we got pay increases, we just increased the amount that we were saving until we've been maxing out those opportunities and taking advantage of employer matches, free money. Are you taking advantage of your employer-based savings programs? That's 401k or whatever other vehicle there is accessible to you. If you're not, I'm going to encourage you to start there. Several years ago, we began working with a financial planner who made sure that we had an estate plan, made sure that we had a will, helped us to establish a trust. So should anything happen to us, make sure we have life insurance. Should something happen to one or both of us, our kids are going to be provided for. Do you have an estate plan? Do you have a will? Those things are important, even if you're single, even if you don't have children. If you've not yet done so, there is an episode with Art Steele that happened in Annette, help me here. I want to say it's episode 103 with Art Steele of trailblazers.fm. Annette will throw the link up for Art Steele in the comments here in a bit. But guys, listen, it's important. It is so very important. Many of these conversations I've had have been eye-opening for me, eye-opening for our community. And it is a big part of my mission with the podcast and as a whole, because I've lived through the darkest valley that I can remember is being in that place where I was in 6 figures of debts, student loans, back in 2008 when we had the financial crisis. It also did a number on real estate. So both Kristen and I had properties we bought in the peak of 2005 that went upside down. So in addition to having all this business debt, all our personal debt, all our asset, all of my assets disappeared and left me with a debt. What assets I did have in real estate also went upside down. And so, we did not have that to fall back on, right? It did not take just a couple months or even a couple years to recover from that. But by changing habits and changing my mindset, I was able, we were able to move from that. And today, I don't owe a dollar on my car. I have a 2015 Subaru that I've been driving, and it's still an amazing car, and I don't owe a dollar on it. And I intend to continue driving that car until the wheels fall off. My amazing wife and I were able to clear the remaining student loans that I had 2 years ago. Debt that we have is on this home, right? And this is an asset, right? It's not depreciating; it's appreciating, and so that's good by us. But we save that money, right? We put away our money each and every month, and we're saving for ourselves for retirement, and we're saving for our kids for college. I'm not telling you this to brag or to for any purpose of benefiting myself. I'm sharing this because I've been in the worst possible place, owing um, millions of dollars, right? When this went upside down, and had very angry investors when that business collapsed. Had six figures of personal debts on my shoulders, credit cards, and had to short sale a house, which impacted my credit for several years. Uh, so I've been in the darkest of the dark side of the valley, and I know that in the last year, in the heights of COVID, there are many people who are still unemployed and maybe in a place right now that mentally feels like there's no hope. I was engaged with someone on Twitter a couple days ago who's concerned because she's needing to look for employment and has been self-employed for many years, which is the shoe I had, the situation I was dealt back in 2011 when I had to exit 6 years of being self-employed and come back to the work world. But here is the beautiful thing. You can either look at your skills and talents and the things that bring you to where you are today as an obstacle or a stepping stone. I would encourage you to look at all the amazing skills and talents that have brought you here to today as a stepping stone. No matter where you are financially, you can still move forward and change your circumstance. You can begin right now to change your habits. I can't tell you it's going to be easy, and I can't tell you that it's going to be quick. But I can tell you that you can change your situation for the better and not be a part of this statistic on the road to zero wealth. Please do me a favor. Go get yourself a copy of this Road to Wealth report today. Go read up about it. Make sure that you are doing your part to ensure you're not a part of this statistic in 2053. We have a lot that's writing against our community. So not only do I need you to take care of your home and your family and your community, but together, because none of us can do this by ourselves, right? We need to lift up others that are doing the work, like Dr. Jolly, like George C. Frazier, like Sean Dove, and others out there who are doing this work, right? And we also need to join that fight to make sure that the Black and Latino community are not going to realize zero wealth in 2040s, 2050s, right? So that's my word for today. 25 minutes. I'm going to let you guys get into your day. Have a great one. Please do me a favor. If you've been impacted by this word today, would you share it with somebody else? I just think that, it's important that we get this word out to as many people as we can. So no frills, no bumper, no intro, no outro today. It's just a word that I felt on my heart to share. God bless you guys. Have a fantastic day. And I'll talk to you on Friday. By the way, on Friday, we are having an amazing conversation that I hope you'll join us for on Friday morning, April 16th, with Stephen Bailey. We're going to be talking courageous leadership and inclusive entrepreneurship. That's Friday morning at 8:30. Go out and have a great day, guys. Cheers.